One-on-One, the Daily Items weekly digital program featuring Susquehanna Valley newsmakers interviewed by Daily Item reporters. Today's guest is Fresh Roasted Coffee owner Andy Oakes, interviewed by reporter Marcia Moore.
Before you head to the Bloomsburg Fair, stop and get to Sunbury Motors Ford. Sunbury Motors is going to price all new Fords at a level that makes it impossible to say no. You'll be feeling great driving to the fair in a 2018 Ford Escape for only $18,820. Sunbury Motors Ford wants to continue selling 7 Fords a day through the Bloomsburg Fair. Pack up the family in your 2018 Explorer. Explorers start under $30,000 at SMC, and they have 20 to choose from.
Welcome to the Daily Items One-on-One. I'm Marcia Moore here with Andy Oakes, the owner of Fresh Roasted Coffee. You're going to be moving soon into Sunbury.
Yes.
Tell me about that. Tell me about the move from Selinsgrove.
Well, we outgrew our facility there in Selinsgrove. I've been looking for a while. The owner of the building, he was deciding he thought he was going to sell the building, so I felt pressured to make a decision whether I wanted to buy that or move somewhere else. And so after quite a bit of looking, there is not a tremendous amount of property left. I knew that this property was a potential for sale, and I've been honestly pressuring them for a little while. And they finally decided, you know what? They should take me up on that offer.
Okay.
I pretty much told them it was time to decide because I had to do something.
Well, tell the viewers which building it is, because I think a lot of people will know exactly what you're talking about.
It is the old Coca-Cola property here. It's on 2nd Street, but it's actually got a North River, 200 North River Avenue address. It's actually a quite large block and steel building, clear spans, open floor plan, very, very, it's a nice old building. You know, it's a little bit older. That doesn't matter to me. It's probably a little bit of, we're definitely putting some renovations and work into making it, but we're excited. It's more than double the current size we are in. And
Where are you now?
We are at 616 South High, and
In Selinsgrove.
Yes, yeah.
And you've been there since when?
2011,
Okay.
I think, is actually when we first started to roast coffee.
Okay. And so you're moving when? When do you expect to make that?
Well, hopefully by the end of the year is the goal. We're supposed to be out by the lease by the end of the year. We have a really nice landlord. I'm sure he'd take care of us. But the goal is to get over here. You know, we're paying for 2 facilities at the moment, so I'm pushing very hard to get moved over here, and it'll be a little sketchy because of this is about as busy as we get over this next 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
So moving in that time period's not really ideal.
Right.
But some things just happen that way. And
It's been 7 years since you started the company.
yes.
It's been pretty rapid growth for you guys.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. How did you get into the business? Where did you start?
Oh, my family had a heating oil business here in town. I didn't want to be an oil man, I guess, and so I actually went to school for construction management. Decided somewhere along the way I didn't want to shuffle around the country and not have a place to hang my hat, really. So I started the bottled water business. Honestly, that was something that everyone had told my father would be a nice addition to the heating oil business. It wasn't intent because summer, winter.
Oh, okay.
And so I really did that while I was in college, and I didn't think it was going to be a long-term thing. But like I said, I didn't want to move. I was able to stay here. I wanted to be able to. I had a long-term girlfriend I wanted to marry, and I wanted to be able to have kids and just plant myself here in the area, and I'm Sunbury proud, I guess. And
so when did you get married? You married
97.
You married that girl?
Oh yeah, yes.
And you have how many kids?
We have 3.
And how many? You have a son that works with you now?
Yes. Yeah. He's been working with me on and off for the last 2 years, but really just in the last year, he's really come on pretty well full time. He did work full time this summer. He even went to Brazil with me this summer, which is, poor kid. I don't, but no, it was.
So could you have imagined back, 20 years ago that you'd be able to build a business that not only you can raise a family with, that you're second
helping
generation,
28 other people.
Well, let's go back again. Let's talk about you. So you started in water. How do you move from water to coffee?
Well, this is a small valley. There was already an established bottled water company making ends meet against a much larger company. It's very difficult.
Yep.
So I tried adding a second business because I thought one-stop shopping would be would be a little something I could do that neither one of those were.
Right.
So I started selling coffee, and so I had bottled water and coffee, and that was something people liked, and it got me additional customer base. It made my stops more productive, and but still, just fighting actually two much larger companies than me, and not really having the funds to make that grow. I still living in a small valley, struggling, and so somewhere along the way I just decided, somewhere along the way my son was born, that works for me now, and he didn't sleep much, so I found coffee, and the rest is kind of history. I really found coffee somewhere along the way.
Kind of coffee.
Yeah, I like coffee. And so that was kind of the key. And at that point I realized the companies I had been buying from weren't the best companies in the world, and I didn't like their attitude. And I always kid, they all came in Jaguars and Mercedes, and I figured, well, there was probably something to that. So
maybe some money in there.
Yeah, there might be. And so I thought, well, and I wrote a business plan, and after about 6 months of working on that, I always kidded, I worked on that from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock in the morning, because it was just one of those things that was stuck. It was stuck up under my back, and I just couldn't let it go. I wanted to do it, and I just... I thought, well, I'll put it down on paper and I'll prove all the reasons it won't work. And so I wrote it down, and I got it done. And I'm like, I can't prove myself wrong no matter how many times I try. So I finish it up, and the stock market crashes. Just everything goes into a tailspin. And I went to, took it to a bank to see if I could borrow the money. And they're like, the economy's in disaster. I'm not allowed to lend $1. But that's best business plan I've read in 26 years as an SBA lender. I'd have given you the money. If you'd have come here 3 months ago, I'd have given you the money, never even thought about it. And I'm like, well, now what? And she told me, find some investors. And so that's actually what I did. I actually met Tony Markunis. They came on board and helped me get everything started, and have been great. They actually don't bother me hardly at all. And they're just happy to see it grow. And so really it's been quite a nice, steady, overall process. We've gone, from nothing to almost 30,000 orders a month. That's fairly insane, and none of it is based on this local valley. It's all shipped across the country. I mean, we ship, I always kid that, we ship from Lockheed Martin to 2 Times Square. I mean, I don't know. I hope the guys on the stealth bomber are jacked up on my coffee. That's all. I don't know, but I know we send coffee all over the world, and it's... We're
going to pick up on that in just a minute when we come back in just a moment.
Sunbury Motors has 70 new F-150s marked down to as low as $25,969, and just announced 0% for 72 months on F-150s. You'll save thousands over the term of your loan. SMC needs 7 sales every day through the end of the Bloomsburg Fair. We'll see you at Sunbury Motors Ford in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury.
Welcome back to One on One. I'm Marcia Moore. We're here with Andy Oakes from fresh roasted coffee. We were just talking about you're selling your coffee once you got up and running all around the world from the valley.
Yes. Yep.
How did that work out? You knew that that's what you wanted to do. You wanted to be an export company?
Yes. Well, I mean, we sell mostly to the United States, but it's. I knew that there were limits to the amount of business here in our valley, but with today's technology, I don't have to be in Seattle to sell something to someone in Seattle. Right. So it's. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing when you stop and look at what all we actually sell. You're talking about, thousands of orders to California, Florida, Texas, every single month. It's just unbelievable, honestly, how many orders go out to all these different people. And I'm always shocked. It's been a tremendous learning process. I always kid that the day Amazon called me, that I made them prove who I was, or they were, and so that was a little, And,
they called you with what news? What did they want?
Just that, hey, why don't you sell products? They call lots of people. Right. It wasn't anything super special, or it's that anybody can go on Amazon or eBay or wherever and try to.
But they're not calling everybody.
They're not calling everybody, but they call a lot of people, and you kind of try to go from there. And but it is an overwhelming amount of information that's required, and a lot of it's I should teach classes probably on selling on Amazon. I know a little bit about Amazon. Yes.
Well, before you got to that stage, you were helped a lot, and that's one of the reasons why you were in Selinsgrove, through the Keystone Innovation.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell me about that. Tell me how that helped you after the banks said.
Actually, it's funny. Kelly O'Brien Gavin is the first person that stopped and said, "Oh my, you need help. You have a great idea." She is great. She would answer emails at 1 a.m. because she was the other person that was still awake at 1 a.m. She's great.
She's energy.
She's a little crazy.
Yeah. Which is great.
But
you need that.
No, the Keystone Innovation Zone has some great tax credit programs, and it seemed far-fetched, but I followed the protocols, and I did all the things, and they promised that they would come through with their programs, and sure enough, they sure did. And all the money that came in through that system, I just dumped back into the business. And that's honestly, that's kind of what I've done through the years. As everything continues to just keep coming back in, I just dump it back into the business.
How has that helped? How has that been able, kind of set you up for the success that you've been able to?
Well, just by funneling all that money back straight into the business, I was able to buy things I wouldn't have been able to. And I originally, early on, I sold things fairly well at cost, and knew that, at least I was selling something, and honestly, that helped me with the KIZ.
Building up a customer base, basically.
Right. But really what I found was, as we grew, I was able to take and work with my suppliers and work them down, honestly.
Okay.
The more we sold, the better prices got, so the lower my costs got, and the better our profitability got, and it just kept spooling up, and you went from ordering 10,000 bags to 20,000 bags to 50,000 bags, and it's amazing when you start dealing in massive volumes, what can be done, and there's been a even some of the stuff I'm able to use that volume. Right now, all of our boxes are actually being produced, printed by Paul Hamas Litho in Williamsport for all of our K-Cups.
Okay.
And they're cut by Tom at Systematic Filing in Danville. So our K-Cup boxes are all produced right here in the valley.
And that's pretty amazing, isn't it? That you can.
Yes, and its volume was able to help him get better supply pricing, and be competitive with me, and
So what do you say to your kids and other people that say, yeah, I want to stay here in the valley, but there's just nothing to keep me here?
And I do understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to create it, I guess.
And that's what you've
and from my perspective,
Mm-hmm.
the move to Sunbury, over there, anything south of us is mostly Harrisburg or Richfield, or like it's out. There's not a tremendous amount of employee base even.
Yeah.
I mean, customers are one thing. I'm focused on the internet, so I'm not too worried about people walking through my door.
Right.
But finding good quality employees, Sunbury's situated in the middle of everywhere.
You've been able to do that, haven't you? Because you employ, I mean, your business model a little bit different. I mean, you don't just produce the coffee. You have graphic artists.
We too. Oh yeah. We actually have a very high-end advertising agency in our second floor. It's really something. I mean, I started, the first person I hired was a graphic artist. He is still with me to this
And
day.
why do you do that? Because you every coffee that you put out there, you have a story to go with it.
For the most part,
Yeah.
which is written by the girl that is a creative writer.
Right.
She's a graduate of Susquehanna. She came in as an intern. And I mean, what coffee company has a writer? I still.
And you always have.
Yes, yeah. Well, she started as an intern and then just never left. But
She created her own job.
she
didn't
did
she?
literally create her own job, because
Yeah.
I thought she was crazy when she came in. But that has really benefited. Having things properly written. Google analyzes your site for content. That's been an important thing. Recently, we actually hired a second graphic artist. She even has a master's. And I just hired another guy, another local guy. He has a bachelor's from Susquehanna in advertising. And so he is the marketing manager. And I actually have a very high-end upstairs staff. It's hard to believe that as a coffee company, you have this, at your disposal. But it's amazing to watch. Sometimes I just sit back and watch it all. Just watch it all unfold in front of me, and it's just insane.
And you were able to pluck them right from here.
Yes.
Didn't have to go any further. How many employees do you have now?
In total, between the two companies, I think we're at 29.
Okay. And let's talk a little bit. You mentioned the trip to Brazil. You
Yes.
travel a lot. I mean, the coffee that you get,
Yes.
it's not just coffee that local. I mean, where are you getting your beans?
Oh, well, we have 40-some original or specific individual origins. Many of those, I have some relationship with the actual origin. There's people in Maui that I've bought from. Had to go visit them. That was, it's rough again, but somebody has to do it.
Yeah.
Was to Brazil this last summer. Took my oldest son, who's working with me. We were able to go directly to the farm, pick out exactly the beans, the area, the specific section of the farm, and found one that we really liked and would work well for us. So I know exactly where I've stood in the section of the farm where that comes from.
And that's important to you.
Absolutely, yes. And we bypass the middleman, the importers, and are able to give more money to the farmer, have reasonable cost for importing, and I did the same thing last summer. I went to Colombia. That was another very beautiful place. That was a little more sketchy. We did have 3 armed guards with us while in Colombia, because you're in the backwoods. But it's really amazing to be able to do these things. I would never have thought that I was going to do things like this, so
it's worked out pretty well.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Where can people find, on the internet, where can people find fresh roasted coffee?
Yeah, freshroastedcoffee.com is always the best.
Yep.
When your order is placed, we actually roast it within a day usually. If you place an order on Monday afternoon, it will be roasted, packed, and shipped the next day. You know, it's really something as fresh as humanly possible. We do also sell on Amazon. That we have to send to their warehouses, though,
Right.
so it slows it down a little bit.
Okay.
So our site's definitely better.
Okay.
It's usually, the best place.
Andy, thanks so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate the
you're
time.
welcome.
Thank you for watching One on One. Be sure to come back next Thursday for another edition.